Sapiotech, Adventures in Worldbuilding, now with voiceover and history. So here's special thanks to everyone in World Builders and Sci-Fi Writers, everyone in RPG and Fantasy Writers and Artists Guild, everyone in AM Writing Fantasy, everyone in Creative Writing, everyone in Fantasy Writers Forever. I will be adding links to your pages somewhere in the description of this video once finished. Thank you for giving me the courage to continue writing this epic even if no one else believed in me. You have my utmost gratitude for helping me find the right words to fight on. So here's a quick self-promotion. If you enjoy my content, please feel free to do the following. Subscribe to my channel, hit the bell for notifications, like my videos, share my videos. If you have any suggestions or complaints, feel free to comment down below or on my posts. Now please be quiet and make sure your popcorn and drinks are ready. The show's about to start. Setting: the known cosmos. Sapiotech mostly takes place in the known cosmos, a group of 36 galaxies bound through the void gates that makes travel between them both easy and reliable. Due to the vast size of galaxies, only 12 of said galaxies have been thoroughly explored. Add to that the fact that there may be void gates in other galaxies that have yet to be discovered, and you have potentially an infinite number of destinations in the known cosmos. The fate of humanity. No one really knows what happened to the humans. There are many theories, of course. There are those who believe that humans simply retreated to an unexplored part of the universe to live far and away from their creations, the Sapients. Others assume that the humans finally ascended to godhood, deciding to dwell in a new universe created using their miraculous powers. Then, the most cynical of theories state that humans were simply wiped out to the last by making use of technology that turned out to be detrimental to them or otherwise destroyed one another due to strife and infighting. Whatever the case, all that is left now are the Sapients, the descendants of humankind, heir to their genetics, intellect, and, as some would say, soul. Sapients populate the whole universe, from Hoag's object to the Tadpole Galaxy, with many of them having home galaxies of their own left to them by humans. On Sapiotech. Sapiotech, the namesake of the whole verse, is the technology left behind by humanity after their apparent disappearance. Needless to say, Sapiotech is extremely advanced, and there are many theories that humans alone didn't create them. There is also the fact that existing species can only replicate Sapiotech, and few, if any, have ever invented any new ones. It is generally accepted that Sapiotech is comprised of nanomachines or nanobots, machines too small to be seen even through a microscope. This is what is thought to have given humans the godlike power to almost change anything at will, such as terraforming entire star systems in the course of a day and creating objects seemingly out of nothing. Still, much is largely unknown and unexplained about Sapiotech, and a lot of their capabilities remain inexplicable. Needless to say, Sapiotech is much sought after by many sapient species and factions, and have led to countless wars that include one that has spanned an entire galaxy and has resulted in the destruction of said galaxy. On Sapiotech, God Engines. While the mighty God Engines built by humans had little to no information on their creators, they contained enough information to guide the Sapients to their current state as rulers of the universe. Easily the size of small planets, they were able to teach the Sapients scientific and engineering techniques in order to advance quickly into spacefaring civilizations. There were different God Engines for different sapient species, and each was different in their own way. There was the oracle of the Alphas who made them great indeed but mysteriously deactivated when the said species succeeded in using faster-than-light travel for the first time. There is the apostate of the Omegas, which is dysfunctional in the extreme, sending out odd and contradicting information at irregular intervals, with some being nothing more than meaningless messages, while others can be best described as prophecy. Then there is the now destroyed despot of the Sigmas, which was shattered into numerous pieces that now float across the species' home galaxy, and there are many others. On Sapiotech, faster-than-light travel. Faster-than-light travel is a very important facet of life in the known cosmos, and possibly in the beyond. It should be known that some worlds rely solely on imported food, medicine, and other supplies to function, and their populations would die off without them. There are several methods of faster-than-light travel among existing starships, and some of them have more than one type installed. Star leaping involves messing with the gravity of a star or black hole to manipulate electromagnetic forces and send a ship or object from one celestial body to another faster than the speed of light. A reliable and very common way to travel from one star system to another. That said, it's not the best method to use when traveling between galaxies. Void gates. This requires the use of Sapiotech void gates, which are enormous structures that allow an object or ship to instantaneously teleport from one void gate to another. These are the only reliable means to travel between galaxies. So far, only 36 of them have ever been discovered, and they all require coordinates in order to be used properly. Deep diving. The deep is a dimension outside the universe itself, considered too dangerous to use by most sapient species. Only battle ARKS are known to use this method. On Sapiotech, IMAGOS. IMAGOS are extremely advanced expressions of Sapiotech that leave even modern scientists unable to understand them. All that is known about them is that they can transform into various objects seemingly at random and possess a modicum of intelligence or sapience. However, this is mostly just scratching the surface, as they can turn from a simple tool or weapon to a suit of combat-powered armor, a 20-foot-tall machine of war, to even a city-sized starship capable of destroying planets. And that's not even going into other capabilities IMAGOS have been known for, such as miraculously healing diseases and injuries, creating instantaneous interdimensional portals to achieve faster-than-light travel, and even completely restructuring large celestial bodies like stars and black holes. To make matters even more confusing and difficult, it is largely unknown what powers IMAGOS. While most Sapiotech can gain power from solar and chemical energy, IMAGOS can function perfectly even in the complete emptiness between galaxies. That said, without being bonded to an occupant or user, IMAGOS become instantly inert and powerless. On Sapiotech, battle ARKS. Battle ARK is the word used to describe the vast creatures that are actually living Sapiotech starships. They are thought to be more mysterious than IMAGOS and traverse the vast distances between stars and galaxies with relative ease. They are also always armed and possess destructive powers that can destroy multiple planets at once. Most battle ARKS resemble gigantic turtles the size of continents and appear to feed on the energy produced by stars, black holes, and other large celestial bodies. There are believed to be other types of battle ARK that have different shapes, including ones that look like giant, planet-sized dogs, to those that are simply comprised of 3 city-sized spheres. Only one battle ark has ever been captured by the Dominion, and its internal structure reveals that they are actually starship of sorts and are capable of sustaining large populations of sapients within their bodies. That said, the captured battle ark had escaped shortly afterwards, and studies regarding the massive creatures remain scarce. Intergalactic strife and conflict. The relationship between the sapient species has always been turbulent. There is the constant threat of Sigma terrorists bent on causing as much horror and havoc as possible for political and religious purposes. The betas continue to fight amongst themselves and other species to devastating effect because of their advanced weaponry. The recent outbreak of disease among the Zetas has left much of their worlds either completely overwhelmed with feral madness or outright destroyed. The IOTAS claim to pursue a peaceful existence in their home galaxy, but recent events have proven that they are all too willing to resort to violence or sabotage to defend their interests. And that's not going into the power struggles between the alphas, kappas, gammas, deltas, thetas, and rebellious omegas. The mightiest bastion of civilization in the universe is the Dominion. Unified by the alphas, the Dominion has brought vast swaths of the universe under its rule. While some deem it oppressive, there are those who are willing to tolerate its harsh laws in order to be safe from barbarism and even worse threats. The sapient species of the known cosmos. There are believed to be 24 species of sapient throughout the universe, although, so far, only 12 have been found and identified in the known cosmos. Each can also be divided into multiple subspecies, but I won't be covering that here. This video might end up longer than I intended if I did. The most human-like sapients are the alphas, kappas, gammas, deltas, thetas, sigmas, and omegas. The least human-like sapients are the betas, zetas, iotas, epsilons, and upsilons. The alphas. The alphas are an all-female species of large and robust sapients. They tend to be one of the largest sapient species along with kappas, and only male kappas are actually bigger than them. They are believed to be the pinnacle of physical evolution by some, and this is best exemplified in their unique and powerful physiology. That said, they have no psychic ability of any kind. A vast majority of alphas tend to be tall, with their average height being around 6 feet tall. Their bodies tend to be robust and powerful with large breasts. Due to their efficient metabolism, their bodies only range from curvy, athletic, to muscular. The culture and society of alphas depend largely on what subspecies they belong to, but the least common denominator is that they consider themselves to be possessed of the most perfect bodies among all sapients. As such, they take great pride in showing off their bodies and tend to prefer revealing clothing or those that accentuate the shape and features of their physiques. They are also known to enjoy contests of strength, agility, and endurance, with sports being the most common form of entertainment and dance being their most popular activity. The kappas. Kappas are a species widely known for their proficiency with organic technology. Their cells tend to contain organelles called green blood that allows them to absorb and incorporate genetic materials from other organisms and achieve a kind of symbiosis with them. This is mainly how they manage and control their technology, which is mostly comprised of living organisms. Kappas possess a more rapidly recovering physiology than that of alphas, allowing them to regenerate lost limbs and eyes. They do not, however, have the same powerful immune system and are largely vulnerable to poisons and diseases. They do, however, grow to huge sizes, and male kappas are often taller and larger than alphas. The gammas. Gammas are the most technologically advanced species in the known cosmos thanks to their unique physiologies, with their only rivals likely being the alphas and betas. They possess skeletons and bones laced with a living metal alloy that allows them to interface with mechanical devices much more easily. They also have a powerful nervous system that gives them the ability to produce currents of electricity. Thanks to their durable metallic skeletons, they tend to be tougher than most sapients, save for alphas. Unfortunately, due to their partially mechanical bodies, they are vulnerable to things and forces that damage machines. They are also vulnerable to magnets, and magnetic weapons are extremely effective against them. The Deltas. Deltas are best known for their powerful psychic abilities. Their bodies are saturated with crystalline compounds that are thought to aid their already formidable psychic powers. This ties in with how nearly all their technology, if it can even be called technology, is crystalline and psychic in nature. Deltas tend to possess more lithe and slender bodies and are less powerful than most species, but their psionic abilities more than make up for this. They have a natural telekinesis that works as long as they can make physical contact with something. They are also known to have long lifespans believed to be a lot longer than that of any other sapient. The Thetas. Thetas are another extremely powerful psychic species, rival only to the Deltas, IOTAS, and Omegas. However, their psychic abilities lend themselves more to telepathy and also make use of organic technology like the Kappas. However, where the Kappas prefer to bond with animal life, Thetas make use of plants and trees in both their day-to-day life and advanced technology. Much like Deltas, Thetas are usually slender in their build, although they do grow to formidable heights. The average height of a Theta male, for example, is upwards of 6.5 feet, while most females are around 6 feet in height. While also capable of producing and using devastating weapons of war, Thetas have a more pacifist attitude and prefer to avoid conflict with others if at all possible. The Sigmas. Sigmas are best known for being six-limbed sapients. They have a strange culture that puts them at odds with other sapient species and are widely disliked. That said, this is a sentiment that Sigmas are more than willing to return to the other sapient species of the known cosmos. Sigmas also possess versatile psychic powers and are especially dangerous in large numbers, but nowhere near as that of those with more specialized psionics. They are also the first known sapient species to use IMAGO technology. Sigmas are the sole reason the Dominion exists, as it was their slaver fleets that captured and enslaved various sapients that alphas, kappas, gammas, deltas, thetas, and betas banded together to wage war on their empire. That they lost that war more than 1,000 years ago still fills them with shame and anger. While most younger Sigmas have accepted life in the Dominion, many of their elders and leaders desire a return to the time when they were still the dominant power in the known cosmos. The Omegas. Omegas are an all-male species of small and slender sapients. They aren't very strong, but they make up for this through their rapid reproductive cycle, photographic memory, and genetic memory. Omegas also possess prehensile tails and tongues. They are quite probably the most powerful psychics in the known cosmos, and are believed to be capable of making reality itself obey their whims. That said, what civilization they once had has long been subjugated by the Alphas, and nearly all traces of their culture have been erased. They live now mostly as slaves and chattel in the known cosmos, and are all too often the victims of violence from other species. The Omegas have had at least 2 major revolts against the Dominion that were quickly put down by the Alphas, but have had gruesome outcomes overall. It is feared that there will be a 3rd revolt by the Omegas, and that, once it happens, it will most likely lead to their extinction. The betas. Betas are a species of intelligent robots that reproduce through massive castle factories. Their weapons of war are truly devastating, and many sapient species are aware that they are a dangerous foe that could topple the Dominion easily if united. That said, their society is largely feudalistic and is led by fiefs and knights, with most other betas serving the role of peons or peasants. Their last High King was slain over 1,000 years ago in the fight against the Sigma Despotate. It was by his hand that the Sigma God Engine, the Despot, was destroyed, but also killed the beta leader in the process. Now the remaining fiefdoms of the betas squabble over the remains of their civilization, and the current most dominant fief has the ambition to spread his influence over the rest of the Dominion. The Zetas. Zetas are a bizarre species of organisms that form into larger creatures that identify as a single individual. This means that one individual Zeta one encounters is actually comprised of 100 or more different organisms that simply speak as one being. Zetas prefer to take forms that resemble combinations of arthropods and reptiles, and are noted for making use of organic technology, much like Kappas and Thetas. Despite being rather strange to most other species, Zetas feel the needs of other sapient species for produce and livestock. Zetas pride themselves for being able to cultivate life just about anywhere, and can terraform planets using their unique biology. That said, a strange sickness has begun to spread among the Zetas, turning them into ravenous swarms bent on stripping planets of all life. The IOTAS. IOTAS are a species of intelligent fungus that possess innate psychic abilities. Similar to that of deltas and thetas, much of their civilization and society centers on their psionics. The common manifestation of psychic power in IOTAS is psychometry, allowing them to see into the nature of the universe around them beyond normal senses. Due to this, they have often been taken on by other species as navigators for vast starships or detectives because of their ability for finding trails and the most unlikely of places and seeing events and emotions through objects. It is believed by some that there might actually be IOTA prophets who can foretell the future, though the species prefers not to talk about this. As of late, while most IOTAs prefer a more peaceful approach to things, much like the Thetas, there have been rumors that their leaders intend to seize power for themselves in the distant future. Some say this may have to do with their species' prescience, and that they sense a future calamity they refuse to tell anyone else about. It is also notable that they already possess quite some clout in the known cosmos, as they are the preferred navigators of most starships. The EPSILONS. Epsilons are a species of graceful giants, often towering at 10 to 15 feet, but can suddenly grow larger as needed. Their bodies are comprised of only a single type of cell, and is what allows them to regenerate, elongate, and change their shape easily. They are also capable of photosynthesis or chemosynthesis like plants or fungi, which also gives them the ability to survive in a vacuum, feeding only on the energy put out by stars or various other celestial bodies. While epsilons are normally cordial to one another and often communicate with one another over vast distances with their own form of telepathy, they have no society or civilization to speak of. According to the oral histories of the species, the only time they united was when they had to defend themselves from the Sigmas, who sought to capture, enslave, and experiment on them. There were a few other incidents wherein the species united, although these have either been lost to antiquity or those who know of what truly happened have died long ago. The Upsilons. Upsilons are a species of intelligent microbes that resemble amoebas covered in cilia and have several flagella to serve as appendages. Because of their small size, they are often terrified of the giants and are one of the few species to be wholly sympathetic to the plight of the Omegas. They often dwell in mobile city ships that houses millions of their kind and are roughly the same size of a small sapient like an Omega. Larger city ships can contain upwards of billions of upsilons and are fully equipped for traveling in a vacuum and even have faster-than-light drives. As of late, upsilons have been discussing withdrawing from the Dominion for reasons they are reluctant to reveal. Some say it may have to do with the brewing unrest among the Omegas, although there are those who speculate that some, more greedy members of their civilization are making a bid for power. No one is really sure, and most common upsilons don't seem to know either. Sapients of the Beyond. The sapients of the beyond are those that are not found within the territories of the Dominion or the known cosmos. Little is actually known about them, and much of what is often said is nothing more than rumor. There are only 3 known species that dwell outside the Dominion, and almost all of them are considered hostile to both Dominion-associated species and one another. The Omicrons are the greatest threat to the Dominion, and even a fraction of the power they have demonstrated has revealed that they can easily lay waste to an entire star system within a day thanks to their mastery of imago warfare. The Rho, who are widely known for their use of organic technology and biomechanical equipment. While they are interested in forming a treaty with the Dominion, they have revealed very little about themselves. They are also thought to be hermaphrodites. The Lambda, who are masters of psionic combat and are adept with both telekinesis and telepathy. They have already formed a treaty with the Dominion, but usually refuse to get involved in its politics. They are also hermaphrodites and can change gender due to ambient temperature, though some are rumored to be able to do this at will. Timeline of events. 5 billion years ago, humans created the Sapients. It is said that they started with the Alphas, whom they had time to perfect, and were thus the pinnacle of their creations. The Omegas were the last to be created, and humans, by then, were in a hurry to ascend to godhood, and was why they seemed the most unfinished. That said, many question this version of history, as it seems too centered on the Alphas. Timeline of events. 3 billion years ago, humans have vanished from the face of the entire universe. It was believed that they populated just about every galaxy in the cosmos at the time, but simply disappeared afterwards. As mentioned earlier, there are a lot of theories on how or why this happened, but none of them are concrete. That said, humans did leave behind a sizable legacy in the form of Sapiotech, their extremely advanced technology. It is with this, often difficult to understand, technology that humans reshaped much of the known universe. It is even theorized by some that humans didn't reach this level of technology and that they had help from other intelligent creatures at the time. That said, none of the existing sapient species have ever encountered a live human specimen. Timeline of events. 13,000 years ago, the first sapient species awakened on their respective planets. This is when the matriarchs of the Alphas first emerged and communed with the Oracle, their god machine. This is also the time for the patriarchs of the Omegas woke from their shared dream and heard their god engine, the apostate, tell them a foreboding prophecy. This is the time too when the despot, god engine of the Sigmas, roused them from their deep sleep and set them to work on conquest. This was the same for every other sapient species in the known cosmos. Timeline of events. 7,000 years ago, the Alphas first discover faster-than-light travel and first encounter the other species of the known cosmos, specifically the Deltas and Gammas. The Oracle mysteriously deactivates and is not heard from since. It is also then that Alphas, Deltas, and Gammas consider forming a treaty of sorts for both trade and support. The other species, such as the Kappas and Thetas, are discovered by the Alphas later on, after first encountering and using their own Void Gate. It is then that they decide on putting together a treaty of mutual benefit for any other species that they discover. A little bit later on, the Alphas meet the Betas, who, at the time at least, were quite cordial, and willing to trade. Timeline of events: 5,000 years ago. The treaty formed by the sapient species proved to be very beneficial to all parties. That said, it is also during this time that they first encountered the Sigmas, who have been apparently observing them for a very long time now. It turns out though that the Sigmas have been planning to betray them, and are revealed to be responsible for multiple mass disappearances of large populations in the known cosmos. War breaks out, and the tense alliance of alphas, gammas, kappas, deltas, thetas, and betas are shaken badly. Timeline of events: 3,000 years ago. After 2,000 years of grueling conflict, the war against the Sigmas ends with the victory of the other sapient species. The god engine of the Sigmas, the despot, is destroyed when the High King of the Betas crushed its core with his own hands. For a while there is peace, and the sapient species celebrate their victory over the Sigmas. They also learn through the vast archives of other sapient species and encounter the Zetas, IOTAS, EPSILONS, and UPSILONS. However, that peace turned out to be fairly short-lived. Timeline of events: 2,000 years ago. After venturing into another galaxy using coordinates found in the archives of the Sigmas, the Alphas first meet the Omegas, another sapient species possessing vast psychic powers. They are so powerful, in fact, that some believe that they can actually bend reality to their will through the power of song. The matriarchs of the Alphas do not take well to this, and immediately hatch a plan to assassinate the patriarchs of the Omegas to prevent them from becoming a threat. In retaliation for mercilessly killing their leaders, the Omegas fight back and start the first ill-fated revolution that has led to a terrible conflict known as the Annihilation War. After innumerable Omegas were obliterated, the entire species is enslaved by the Alphas under the threat of total destruction. It is also when the Betas decide to secede from the treaty, both due to internal strife and their disdain for the actions of the Alphas. Timeline of events: 1,000 years ago. At this time, a new leader of the Omegas come to power. A wise chieftain and seer, he has chosen to wage war against the Alphas in revenge for what they had done a millennium ago. The Alphas immediately respond to his rebellion with brute force, which again annihilates large populations of Omegas, but not without making the Alphas pay dearly in blood. In the aftermath of the Omegas' daring attack, the Alphas lose control of much of their galaxy. That said, the Omega Galaxy is plunged into turmoil immediately afterwards, as they have little if any governing body to speak of. Still, the Alphas have been forced to deal with the new Omega leader using methods other than violence. Timeline of events: 500 years ago. The leader of the Omegas is killed after he is almost convinced to sign a peace treaty with the Alphas. Before the Alphas can respond to this latest incident, a new enemy reveals itself: the Omicrons. Another sapient species from beyond the known cosmos. They immediately attack key locations in the Alpha, Kappa, Gamma, Delta, and Theta galaxies. They are able to paralyze the governments of said species, and, in the case of the Alphas, they have assassinated most of its governing body. Chaos ensues. Timeline of events: 100 years ago. A new leader of the Alphas emerged, taken from the militaristic caste of the species. She also turns out to be sympathetic to the Omegas, and immediately takes action to free them from slavery and tries to make amends. That said, with this being her first century in power, she has a long way to go before achieving anything significant. Then the Omegas also gain a new leader in the form of an escaped former gladiator. Unfortunately, he turns out to be far from reasonable, and hatches his own plans to completely destroy the Alphas and their dominion. He establishes the Omega Sedition and seeks to enact terrible vengeance against the species that enslaved and tormented his people for millennia. Meanwhile, it seems that the Omicrons may return at any moment. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it, please feel free to like and share. Also, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell for notifications to stay updated about this piece of intellectual property. I've been working on this project for a long time, and I've been thinking of putting together a third-party rule set based on Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition to better flesh out the setting. Anyway, see you guys in the next video.